I just spent a week as a lighthouse keeper on a tiny island off the coast of Maine, and obviously a lot of people want to know how I landed that gig, how that happened, and so I would like to introduce you to the recurring thread over the last 2 years of my life. Longer than that, but specifically the last 2 years, and it is this. God keeps providing opportunities and opening doors, and I keep saying yes and walking through them. At the end of the day, it is literally that crazy and also that simple. Let me explain. In June of 2023, I took a week of vacation and I went on a solo trip to down East Maine. I booked an Airbnb glamping tent site in Machiasport, Maine, and when I showed up on a Tuesday, I was being walked down to the tent by the owners, Hugh and Eileen, and we got to talking, and I mentioned how while I was up there, I was going to go to Lubec and see West Quoddy Headlight, and how I loved lighthouses. My grandmother used to paint them, etc., etc. And they mentioned that the next day they would be heading out to, they were volunteers with Little River Lighthouse, and they were heading out to do trail maintenance. And they offered for me to come with them if I wanted to, kind of put myself to work on my vacation. And I said, yes, absolutely. Tell me when and where. And so the next day I went out and I helped clear trail, and I met their neighbor, who is now the current caretaker of the island full-time, Joe. And we all connected. We all kind of just became friendly. I came up a couple months later and stayed with their neighbors, Joe and Donna, in a camper in their yard. And this spring, Joe texted me that he was taking over as full-time caretaker of the island, and would I want to come up and fill in for him for a week in July when he had some family coming into town. And I said yes. And I went up and I went out there and I learned how to drive the boat, and I learned on the job all the things that I kind of needed to know to be filling in as the caretaker on the island for the week. And all of a sudden I was a lighthouse keeper. I was on the island. I was the keeper. And it truly, there's no other way I can explain to you how these things keep happening to me. Like, I just spent 2 months working in Sweden. I had not met the family before I showed up, and they picked me up from the bus stop in Sweden. It was a referral from someone who I became friends with on here, who heard of it through someone who worked for the family. And I had a FaceTime call with the mom, and 2 days later, I had a background check come back clear. And 2 days after that, I had a flight booked and a contract signed. And 4 days after that, I was on a plane to Sweden. And I have no other explanation for all of the events of the last 2 years of my life, for my entire life, but specifically these last 2 years since I left my full-time job, since I kind of set out on this uncharted path. I have no other explanation for all of the things that have happened to me and all of the opportunities I've had other than God keeps providing opportunities and opening doors, and I keep walking through them. I highly recommend it. It's a wild ride, and that's it. I love you. Bye.